most new businesses fail within the first 3 years.
Yeah.
So the fact that you kicked off one when you were 27
Yeah.
and have launched about 744 restaurants since then.
Yeah, but there's been failures along the way. I mean, it's not all been, sunshine, and don't, you know what it is? I think I've learned, I think I'm in the best place now that I've ever been.
Right.
Just because.
Why do you say that?
There's clarity and there's been lessons. And a great business is all about the mistakes you make along the way. And as much as you can, I don't read books. I'm not the one that's going to go and buy, the book on how to influence people or all that. I'm not into it because I don't want to create an idea in my head of something. I want to create my own ideas.
Right, yeah.
And in saying that, so what happens is you end up, making a few mistakes along the way.
What do you reckon is the hardest mistake that you've learned in business?
Don't expect just because there's popularity, you can make everything work.
Right.
I made a decision to go into business with Manu, who I love dearly, and I still love him dearly, and it was an absolute disaster.
Yeah, right.
And who would have thought probably the two of the biggest, profile chefs in the country, he's definitely the biggest, and you'd think it'd be jam-packed.
Yeah, right.
But it's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with what makes great restaurants is the substance and soul, is the identity. And now I stick to my core value, and that is it's got to have meaning. It's got to mean something. And when I opened the press club 8-9 years ago, it was truly everything I had on the plate. And then with Hellenic Republic, the same thing. And then obviously we opened Ghazi and redid the press club and opened Jimmy Grant's and they're me. They're not like, I love that food. I love to cook that way. I want to eat in all my places.
Yeah.
They have a story. They have a belief. So that's a lesson that I've learned, and a costly lesson. But hey, you know what? Them's the breaks, and you got to understand that in business sometimes. You go from one little restaurant with 25 staff to now 350 staff, and it's plus not just the restaurants, everything else we do outside.
Totally. How hands-on are you still with everything?
I think look, it's not as hands-on as I'd like to be, but enough hands-on to get the point across. Right. Like, am I in there chopping the carrots and peeling the onions? No.
Do you go in, because chefs are just known for being nuts, like that, right?
Yeah.
Are you in the kitchen? Are they all like, yes, chef? No, and you're like, cut that thinner.
There's definitely a sense of, great kitchens are a bit like an army. Yeah, you've got to have your soldiers. You've got to have the right, people in the right spots, and it's a pyramid.
Yeah.
And from the bottom you work yourself up to get to the top. I've got 2 young apprentices in the press club who are going to be absolute stars. I can see these girls are phenomenal. They're pasty white. They haven't seen sun in 3 years, and they're head down and ass up. They don't really have a social life, which is something I'm trying to work on with them, because I think the how would you call it? The ancient way of running kitchens is dying, and it's dead. The way I was taught, which is it's you come in early, you leave late, you work your ass off, you don't stop for nothing. Your life is committed. People go to me, geez, George, you've lost so much weight. Yeah, I was fit before I became a chef. I played soccer, I was fit, I was a young kid, and then I committed myself to the stove.
Right.
And you forget about everything else. You don't go out, you don't party. If you do, you try and find a spot where you party, but then you're back in the kitchen again. You eat rubbish because you don't care about your nutrition. You care about just getting the food right. You're like this.
Yeah,
you don't see anything else bar.
Which, that's not a healthy way to live, though.
No, and that's why I'm trying to change that in a big way. So, where we've got, menus that are written in the restaurants for the staff, so I know what they're going to be eating. So at 11:30 every day, there's a big pot of pasta, or there's porridge, or there's vegetables, or there's fruit cut.
And you make your staff...
They've got to eat.
Yeah, right.
They've got to eat. And then, at 5:30, they all sit down and eat like human beings,
Yeah,
rather
okay,
than
yeah.
you know, jamming it down their throat and flicking the plate aside and not really eating much because they're so stressed about not getting the job done. So it's changing that old school way of running kitchens, which was, look, it was good for me and I wouldn't change it for anything, but life has changed.
Yeah.
People are different.
Yeah.
It's work-life balance, you know, is important. So
Totally,
yeah.
which is so hard to get, but at the same time, it's also exciting that you have, you know, the power to change that too. Like even with that in our little team, sometimes we'll go to do things going, that's the way things are done. I'm like, hold on, this is ours. We can do it any way we want, you know, which is so exciting at the same time to go, yeah, it's always been done like that, but we're not going to do it like that. And you are doing that with your restaurants and your staff.
Yeah, and you know, I just think it's important because life has changed dramatically where it's different. You know, life is different, and that's good. I think it's important. You know, you'll never see me at the restaurants on a Sunday. That's just my thing, unless it's you know, the place is burning down.
Is that's your day with your family?
Yeah, it's just I always lock it off. You know,
yeah, right.
And you know, I think that's important. But you know, am I still hands on? Yeah, like at 5:30 today. Every Tuesday we do a different menu in Press Club. It changes every week,
Right.
so it keeps everyone on their toes. So I'll be in there at 5:30. Checking off all the details.
In the morning?
No, tonight.
Right.
So before dinner starts, we'll check, you know, they'll pull all the dishes up and I'll check them all, maybe change half of them, maybe change all of them,
that's annoying.
maybe change none of them. It's annoying, but you know what? It's the feeling of having chefs they've got to be on you've got to have them on their toes.
Yeah, right.
Because complacency is the death of chefs.
Yeah, right.
You know, if you're complacent, if you don't really care, you know, it's not good.